Hello, everybody, and welcome to Primos podcast brought to you by Blood Sports. Joel here, and we have a very special guest today joining us. He's the number 16th ranked amateur middleweight in the state of Tennessee, a former Aries Fight Series title challenger. Everybody, Tristan Scarborough is going to be signing on with us shortly. Stay tuned. Tristan, can you hear
How
me?
you doing? Yep, I can hear you. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you, bro. Again, we appreciate you giving us the time to speak with us, man. It means a lot to me. Thank you, brother. By the way, happy anniversary to you and your lady. 4 years. That's great, man. Hope you had a
Thank
good
you. I
weekend.
appreciate that. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. We went to the zoo, so it was
Awesome.
nice.
Yeah, that's great, man. Cool, cool. Yeah, man. So again, we're super excited that you're on here. I know we've been talking back and forth. We've been wanting to get you on here. I'm glad that we finally were able to make it happen. So, we'll get right to it, man. First of all, how are you feeling? Can you take us back to when that injury happened? That
Yeah,
caused you.
man. It it's tough to really describe because I didn't feel it in the moment. I didn't feel it till the next day. Um, it was just the typical night. We were just working wrestling against the cage is when I have to guess it happened. I don't think it happened during striking. So during our wrestling portion, we were just doing wrestling stuff up against the cage. And the next morning, I woke up and in my lower back, it was like somebody was just stabbing me with a knife over and over again. I was like, this is quite weird. Um, so I went into work, obviously, because I'm not just going to call out. And
Right.
I just kept getting this pain. And, luckily we have a massage therapist at the gym, and the gym is like right next to the bank that I work at. Um, his name's Daniel Hyde. He's also one of my sponsors um, at Core Time Massage. So I went down there and he started looking at it. And he worked on it during my lunch break. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go back later in the day and have him, look at it again, see if it gets any better. And he just worked on it for, I think it was like an hour and a half. And we eventually got the swelling down. And when we got to it, he noticed that my spine was really tender. And he
Mm.
was like, "Hey, I think you need to get this looked at." So I ended up going to a chiropractor, and he said that my L3 through L5 vertebrae were like displaced.
Wow.
Um, so I've been going there twice a week trying to get it fixed. I've been trying to get back to some training, but I went back one day because I was like, it's been long enough. I feel great. Felt great training, and then the next day I felt like I could barely walk. So I was like, all right, well, we're back to square one. So
My goodness, man. So have you had, that sounds like a tough road. Have you had many injuries before?
this is my first time. So it could be. I'm trying to do everything they tell me to do, but I'm not very used to being injured. So it's kind of a weird feeling for me, and it's definitely depressing. I try to at least pop my head in the gym and say hi to you know the guys there and stuff, but it's a little bit depressing to be going in there and to not be able to do what you've been doing for almost 4 years now.
Of course, man. So you haven't been training at all very much.
Real spotty. This past week I went in twice, but I'm only really doing striking, and it's got to be like very very light,
Like,
nothing serious. Yeah.
got you, man. So as of now, is there any timetable where we could see you, just returning to a full training schedule and potentially returning, to the cage?
So my treatment is supposed to be done within like I think it's 3 weeks is when my treatment's supposed to be done. So I'm hoping we have this Thanksgiving week off. The gym's closed anyway. So I'll take that week to recover and then I'll go back to just trying to stay light for probably the next week and then hope that maybe by then we're good to go. Something. I don't know. If it's not good by that point, I might just be pushing through it. But that might not be the smartest plan because it is a vertebrae thing. If it was like a muscular injury or something you could really work through, it'd be different. But it's something that isn't just going to be worked through. Like it's going to have to get better.
And it's going to take some time. So the status is still in question. So that Connor Mosby fight, is that something that still might interest you when you're able to get back, or there's no telling right now?
I mean, I definitely still love to fight the guy. That was a fight that I was very much looking forward to. For various reasons, we can leave it at that. Um,
Okay,
but yeah,
okay.
it would definitely be something that would interest me. I know he's got a fight coming up next month. He'll be fighting for the Cagezilla middleweight championship. Trying to remember who he's against. George Lowe, who is
Okay.
another very good fighter. He's fighting out of Gym O, which is pretty close to here. It's in Gastonia.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow.
and I fought on the same card as George before, so that's gonna be a really good fight. I'm looking forward to that. But as far as Connor, he's had a good bit of fights. I don't know that he won't be going pro before then, but if not, yeah, that'd be something I'd definitely be interested in.
Cool, man. So their matchup, that's one to keep that you'll be keeping your eye on, I'm sure.
Oh,
To
most
see
definitely.
who comes out on top of that. Man, you did say that, what you've been going through has been a little tough, it's been a little depressing, but how much does the setback motivate you on the other, looking at it on the other side, on the positive side, maybe?
You know, honestly, it's given me so much time to like be away that I haven't had that it definitely makes me want to get back and want to get back to fighting and training because I haven't been away from it. So when you're just constantly doing it, you don't really get time to like miss it. So at times it can feel a little mundane. Um, but I definitely think now, I'll have a renewed hunger to want to get in there and train and definitely fight too. Especially because my past two fights, I dealt with really tough weight cuts
Mm,
for various reasons. So I'm just really looking forward to having a great camp, a good cut, and just really getting to show what I've actually got.
awesome, man. So that's exciting. That comeback's going to be great. I did want to ask you because I wasn't really sure what made you decide to pursue this MMA career in the first place. I know you did play football growing up and in high school and stuff. So where did that switch go to, where you were decided, hey, obviously you were a fan before that, but what made you say,
Mhm.
hey, I think I want to try this?
Yeah, so funny enough, I had a friend. I played high school and 1 year of middle school football with him named RD Heisa.
I
Um,
remember him. Yes.
yeah, so RD was doing MMA,
Yeah, he
and
was.
like the year after I graduated high school, me and him started to get really close. We started working security together, and one thing just kind of led to another. And I started training with him over the summer, and then he moved out to Greenville, and then a year later I moved out to Greenville, and that's about the time that I just started training, more full time. So I definitely say he was kind of the first person that I was like, oh wow, he does MMA. So this is something that people actually can do. Like it's not just you see him on the TV and you're like, oh my god, that's crazy. It's like, oh no, you like there's people that do that. Um, so he was definitely the first step. And he's still a great friend of mine. He lives out here in Charlotte as well, so we hang out pretty often.
Yeah, is RD still does he still do is he still active or
He's not. He had some neck injuries and such, and it just kind of slowed him down, and he just hasn't really gotten back to it. I think he started so young. I think that it kind of just
he did,
took
man?
it out of him.
Yeah, I met him, when we were in high school, I met him and man, he was doing that stuff before it was even the cool thing to do, right? RD was
Yeah, he was
he's
doing
been
it
on the
back when people didn't know how to feel about it.
RD. Wow, yeah, man. That's crazy. I didn't even think about making that connection, but yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was doing it, man, like 2010, 2011. He was, training and doing fights and everything. That's crazy. Yeah.
yeah. I think he started when he was 16 or something like that, which is
Yeah.
not allowed now. But
Right, right, right. Wow. Yeah. Okay, well then that answers that. Yeah, so tell us about the camp. What led you to train there? I know you're in Concord, in NC at a Hobbs Jackson Wink MMA. What led you to go to that camp, man? How did that happen?
right, so was it May of 2021? I want to say it was, yeah, May of 2021. I moved out to Mooresville, which is right by Concord. Um, and I moved out here directly after I fought Colin Robinson. So I had fought for the middleweight title, and I was moving out here, so I had to find a whole new camp. And at the time, it was called Valor Fighting Championships. It's now known as Aries
Mm-hmm.
Fight Series, but back
Right.
then it was Valor Fighting Championships. And I saw on one of their fight posters that Vincent Van Alstyne was fighting out of Hobbs Jackson Wink in Concord. And I was like, huh, that's good to know. So I DM'd Coach Hobbs on Instagram and was like, hey, um, I've been fighting for a little bit and I'd love to come in and give the gym a try. And right about that time, my teammate Josiah was about to make his MMA debut. Vince was about to, even though it get delayed by a month because one of his guys pulled out. That happens to us all the time. But
Yeah.
um, anyway, so he was getting ready to get ready to hit for his fight, so I just kind of helped him. He was the week before his fight, so I just kind of helped him finish up his camp, and then I just really like the vibe. Coach Hobbs is just really, really, really smart, really intelligent when it comes to the game. He spent a good bit of time out there at Jackson Wing, and he's just been in martial arts his whole life. And
Wow.
everybody there just kind of feels like it just felt like family. So I decided that's where I was going to make my home at, and I definitely think it's one of the better decisions I've made.
Yeah, excellent, man. Just felt like the right place to be. Um, well, yeah, definitely wanted to touch on that. But I do want to ask you as well, you're coming off a couple losses. I
Mm-hmm.
want to know what happened, you know, looking back, what do you think happened in those fights and how did you feel after it?
Yeah, so coming off of my win in November, when I fought Josh Schlussler. Sorry, he's a great guy, hard name to pronounce.
Yeah.
But I was coming off that win,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of things being discussed about what my next fight was going to be, and Zane Burton was somebody who I greatly respect as a fighter. He's got a big fan base. And it had been kind of talked about before that, maybe that was a fight that would be good for both of us. And that's the general direction we went. Um, I I was supposed to be looking at 185, but Zane was fighting at 205, and there was nothing really out there at 185 to make for a championship, and that's where I was at. So I was like, "Yeah, we can fight at 205. Like that doesn't really bother me. I've done both." Where I think the start of the problem went is I had made 185 easily in May, and then in November, my fight was supposed to be against a completely different person at 185, and that person kept changing the weight class, and then they eventually, just pulled out and had to take a late notice opponent at 205, and I easily made that. I mean, I was walking around at 210 at the time, and that was only because I had stopped cutting because my guy had pulled out. So we fought at 205. I had a super easy weight cut, and I was like, oh, I can make 185 easy. So 205, this is easy. I don't really have to worry about my diet too much.
Right.
And we were fighting in February, so had to go through all the holidays and such, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that stuff. And I wasn't too strict on my diet because I was
Mm.
like, oh, it's easy to make. And then you look up, and the next thing you know, now you've gotten up to 230, and you're like, oh, this turned into a real weight cut.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like nothing changed in my training, but people don't realize how much just a little diet change can really make you gain weight quickly and make you take it off quickly. Um, and even still, I think there was honestly a bit of arrogance that I was like, it's not a problem. I can cut 20 pounds in a week. That's typically what I do, without really thinking that, maybe the weight that I put on was not going to come off quite as easy because it wasn't necessarily good weight. Because, you're just eating whatever because you think you've got it.
Right.
So the weight cut ended up being a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, and I ended up having to cut 10 pounds the day of
Mm.
weigh-ins. Yeah. Which, and one thing that people overlook when we're amateurs, not all of us, but the majority of us are having to work jobs.
Yeah.
We're working these 9 to 5 jobs, whatever they may be. That throws a whole wrench into, you hear these pro MMA fighters, the UFC level guys are cutting 20 pounds in a week. It's not as difficult when your whole day gets to revolve around that.
Yes.
And they've obviously earned that. But, when you're working a 9 to 5, it's not quite as easy because you can't just focus your whole day around your cut.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, that fight, it was a great fight. I definitely think that, the weight cut drained me a little bit, and kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I knew Zane could wrestle, but I didn't expect him to go to that well so quickly.
Yes.
So the first round kind of went. We had, our striking exchanges, and then he shot for a takedown. He got it. And there was some control time, but that was really, about it. And I didn't feel too tired. It was just it's a really weird feeling when you have a tough weight cut. It's your muscles just already feel sore
Mm-hmm.
very quickly. And I'll touch on later the next fight, it was even worse. But anyway, we go to this one. Second round starts, it's he gets his takedown, he's got his control, and I was able to reverse him. I got the rear naked choke basically locked in. He slipped out of it at the last second as the round was ending, and he went to jump down on my guard and throw a punch, and our heads clashed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to see on the broadcast, and it was hard to see for the ref. So everybody was kind of confused as to what happened. My head had gotten gashed open, but when our heads clashed, I mean, I don't want to say it was knocked out, but I was dazed and confused. That's for sure. I didn't know where I was. They were asking me all sorts of questions, and I was
Wow.
just like, I don't know where we are, what's going on, da 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 da. There's a funny picture where you can see that I'm, obviously not in the right state of mind. So they ended up calling the fight, and the broadcast team thought that I was just too tired, which
Yeah.
was funny to me because I felt like, if anything, I was the less tired of the two. But it does, it was what it was. It was tough to swallow, but at the same time, I was like, it was a really good fight, really competitive. Zane's, a really tough competitor, and if I had this tough weight cut and I was, I felt this close, you know, it'll be fine. I can come back off this. And then the next fight, I took it 185 because that's what is typically my weight class. That's where I should be. Um, and I wanted to get back in there as soon as possible. Well, the problem was, now I've just put my body through that big weight cut. Now I'm dropping it again to 85. So I have another big weight cut. And I stayed strict with my diet and everything. But I think given it was, less than 3 months apart, the weight just did not come off really at all. It was really hard to get anything off. And that's why, come weigh-ins, I would have been about 190 at weigh-ins, but my cramps were so bad on the way there. We kept having to stop and pull over the car
Mm.
because I like my stomach cramps or my stomach muscles were cramping so bad they were, sticking out of my shirt and stuff. So I had to stop and eat a banana just to make it there. And when you've had like nothing, it just bloats you, especially a banana because the potassium starts to get the water going back. So I missed weight there, and then we had the fight against Corey Farmer, who is a former state champion wrestler in North Carolina. Very, very good wrestler, very tough guy. And the first round, he shot immediately, and I kind of touched on this in the beginning, but it was a very weird feeling because like I said, your muscles start to feel sore very quickly. That was the first time that a weight cut had been so bad that I was sore before we started. I actually, after weigh-ins, I wasn't able to eat. I couldn't start recovering because I kept cramping. Like I couldn't eat because I was just cramping. The water was hard to get down. Um, so I didn't recover as well from the weight cut as I normally do. So that was a weird feeling to be warming up in the back and be immediately sore. But I felt my skills were good enough that we'll be fine. Um, First round happens. He shoots basically right out of the gate. He gets it. Um, he controlled for a little bit, and then I was able to reverse it and get him in a Kimura
Mm-hmm.
and another one. And this has kind of been the story of my career so far, and it's why I've been trying to work so hard on my grappling. That in almost all of my losses, I've had a submission that was almost finished. I don't necessarily think I was close to finishing Torres, but I had a pretty good Kimura on him. Um, However, he's super flexible, so he might have just hulked out of that one anyway. Colin Robinson, I had one on him. I had Zane in a rear naked choke that was pretty tight. And then Corey, I had a really, really tight Kimura that honestly looked quite ugly. Um, but anyway, so I had him in that. He got out, first round finishes, and I went to the corner and I'm just like, man, I am so tired. Like I just physically feel exhausted. So the second round was really tough. Um, I just kind of had to push through. It was really hard to do anything. Well, when the third round finally came around, he was tired too because you start wrestling for two straight rounds, you're going to tire yourself.
For
So
sure.
then we were on kind of the same energy level, and as the round started to go on, I started to stop his takedowns because now it was skill for skill, and I was able to actually show off. I do have good takedown defense. It's just that when you have these bad weight cuts and you're already tired, it's a lot harder to do these things. Um, so once the energy levels match, I was stuffing takedowns. I was able to land a big knee right to his stomach area, good knee to the body, and I thought that he was trying to say that I hit him low. So I
Mm-hmm.
stepped back. On the rewatch, it was a clean shot and it hurt him. And I wish I would have just pushed forward at that time because everybody was telling me like, why didn't you rush him? And I was like, I thought that he was saying it was a low blow. The ref kind of stepped up, but he was like, oh, it's clean, it's clean. And I tried to flurry at the end to get the finish. I didn't get it, and I lost a unanimous decision, which sounds weird because it was a very close fight. But sometimes close fights can end up in 30 to 27s or 29-28s because while every round was close, they felt one person did something more each round.
Right.
Uh, I thought there could have been an argument that I won the fight, but I think it was way too close to feel like anybody was necessarily robbed. He had the control time. I definitely think that I was the one that was getting landing the damage. I was the one who was close to finishing a submission. He was never close to finishing me, but it kind of is what it is. And since then, over the summer, I really worked on my diet.
Mm-hmm.
I got, as lean as I've gotten in a while. I stuck to a strict diet plan starting all the way in July, all the way until my injury. Because I was like, I'm going into this next fight like fresh. I'm gonna have a great weight cut. Like there's not gonna be any more background stuff that's gonna affect the performance that I put on. And
Right.
then I got injured. So that's kind of where we're at.
Tough.
So it's very frustrating to, go through that long weight cut or I mean kind of weight cut, but mostly just dieting and being very strict about it, trying to lose weight healthy to get ready for that cut. And then, right as things were really kicking up, I got injured. And that might have played a part into it too. Because when you are doing those cuts and dieting so hard that your body does tend to become a little bit weak, because that was right about the time that I had cut out salt.
Mm.
Um, so that could have played a part into it, but that is just part of the job.
Got you, man. Yeah, man, that was a really good perspective that you just shared. Seems like a really good learning experience, what you've gone through in your last couple fights, and you've been, doing what you need to do to correct those things. And we don't really realize as fans what you guys go through during your weight cuts and what you two athletes bring to the cage on fight night. We just think you guys are, ready. We're just interested in the fight and what's going to happen, but we don't realize what goes into you guys actually making the weight and making it to the fight. It's almost like a fight in its own before you even get into the cage. So that
Yeah,
was a really
it
good perspective.
definitely is. It definitely is. The weight cut a lot of times can be harder than the fight itself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day we'll get to a point where everybody kind of just fights around their walking around weight. But
Yeah,
you start
everybody.
fighting around your walking around weight, you're going to be fighting people who walk around at 30 pounds heavier than you.
Yeah, that's a tough thing. It's a really tough part of the sport. I mean, you see it at every level. The weight cutting is an issue, from the lowest amateur to the highest of the pros, like you're saying in
Hmm.
the UFC, Bellator, one championship, all these guys, it's very tough, tough situation and a very tough topic, I guess. Controversial is the word that I want to use. Very controversial topic. But
Yeah, I just saw. I think it was Joe Rogan was talking about Alex Pereira and Israel
yeah,
Adesanya, and how you know the rumor is that Pereira was weighing about 220 that night.
that's crazy.
It is crazy, especially when you consider that Izzy might be breaking 200,
Yeah.
and you start to think, what if Izzy was cutting that much weight? What weight class would he be in? And is it really fair?
Yeah.
But if you talk to the fighters, they're gonna say, in their heart of hearts, they don't care, because once you start fighting, it doesn't matter anymore.
Right, right. Yeah, you seem like a guy that, has really never shied away from any fight. Whatever they've offered you, you've just taken it. Like, hey, I'm down, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah. For better or worse, that's definitely true.
Yeah, you're there to fight for sure, man. But I did want to ask you, last month, your teammate Vince Van Alstyne, he won the Aries flyweight title. You were in his corner that night. How excited were you for him? And I'm sure that win is very motivating to you and to the rest of the gym.
Yeah. So that particular night, so his last fight, I was in his corner. This past one, I was just there in attendance.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but yeah, dude, it was so awesome. I was so happy for him. Yeah, he's definitely one of the people at the gym. I love everybody at the gym, but he's one that me and him are pretty close. Um, that's what the super stash bros. We both got the mustaches.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, but yeah, it was awesome. The guy he fought, Mario Umana, had a huge support there that night, and there was just a few of us, because one thing that people don't realize about North Carolina is we got to travel for fights. We don't have any home fights,
Yeah.
so our crowd support is never going to be quite as crazy. Um, Whereas, you start getting to other people's hometowns, they're going to have a lot of fans there. So he had a very loud section. So, you know, me and the few other people that were there were really trying to offset it and just, cheer for Vince and, let him know that he wasn't alone in there, even if he's alone in there. And definitely motivating. I've had the opportunity to be in 3 title fights thus far in my career. Um, all of them against very tough competitors. Torres, Finney. We could go on for another 10 minutes just talking about how good Torres Finney is. You're going to see him in the UFC soon.
Yeah.
Colin Robinson. So Colin Robinson actually finished with a silver medal at the Gamma World Championships this past year. So another very good one. And then, Zane Burton, was undefeated at the time. He just took a loss that I felt like he was winning up until the last round, and he's gone out to Jackson Wink, and he's gonna fix whatever issues he had. He's another very good one. But between those three fights, you're talking about a record of now like 15-1, maybe between those three guys, if not
Yeah,
more. But so all my title fights have been very tough, but at the same time, that doesn't really matter to you. You want to win those fights, and so to see Vince be able to pull that off was very motivating, and I'm just very happy for him, and I know that he deserves it a whole lot.
that's
But
great.
he's a great role model for all the young guys at the gym. We have a lot of youth competitors that have competed for Aries and at the Gamma Nationals, Gamma Worlds. My teammate Jen Lucent, she's 16. She just won at the Gamma Youth Worlds that were held in Nashville. So we're very proud of her, and we just are definitely very excited to just keep producing champions. And I definitely would like to join their ranks and be one as well.
Oh, for sure, man. You're next for sure. Yeah, a lot
Appreciate
of a
that.
lot of a lot of great things happening at the camp, huh? Obviously, Vince, very motivating, like you were saying, to see him get that victory for Hobbs Jackson Wink. It was a big deal. Um, you know, we're super excited, man, for the opportunity that we had, to speak with you, man. And we wish you the best in everything, and keep in
Yeah, I
touch with
appreciate
us,
that.
man. Yeah, we want to hopefully be hearing that you got a fight coming up soon or that you're just back to training.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm sure it's frustrating, but hey, I thank you, Tristan. I mean, for the time that you were able to give us today, for doing this interview for us, for the channel. We'll definitely be staying in touch with you, man. Is there anything else that you might want to say before we kind of sign off here?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. You've been putting out great content, and I'm definitely excited to see your growth in this realm of the fight game. I definitely want to give a shout out to my girlfriend Mackenzie Corey. I always have
Awesome.
to. I always want to show her love because without her, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Definitely want to give a shout out to my team at Hobbs Jackson Wink. Those guys have helped make me the fighter that I am now. I've improved so much in the short time that I've been there. It's only been, I think a year and a half now. Vincent Van Alstyne, Josiah Newton, Cody Noel. Cody's been injured. He'll be making a comeback here soon. Sean Morgan, Troy Williams, Billy Burris, Jen Lucent, Austin Fritz. There's a ton of them, and you're only going to be hearing more about them. And obviously, the mastermind behind it all, Coach Hobbs. I couldn't ask for a better coach. And I definitely want to thank everyone who supported me along the way. I've always felt very supportive in my MMA journey, even when I go out to Knoxville and the Aries Fight Series fans there. They've always shown me a lot of support, so I definitely always appreciate that.
Great, man. Well, it sounds like you have an awesome supporting cast, obviously with your girlfriend and Hobbs Jackson Wink. Yeah, man, you're surrounded by good people, the right people that are, encouraging you and motivating you to, carry on with this career. And I know it's a tough journey. Well, I can only imagine how tough of a journey it is. I know, training and working and everything else you got going on, but man, we really are super excited just to see you, get back in there, whenever you can, whenever you feel like you're ready to.
Hey, I appreciate it. You'll have to come on out to my next one.
I know, man. I want to try to get out there one day and watch one of those Aries fights. It's a long haul all the way to over there to Chattanooga, right? Chattanooga, is that
So there's Chattanooga, and then there's Knoxville as well.
right?
Knoxville is a little bit closer.
Is it a little bit closer? Okay.
Mhm.
Cool, man. Yeah. So hopefully sometime next year we're going to be seeing you back in action.
Yes, sir. I'll let you
All
know.
all right, Tristan. Yeah. Hey, we're going to stay in touch, man, for sure. Appreciate your time, brother. We're going to have to do it again. Once that fight is scheduled, we're going to definitely have to hop back on here and hype up the fight.
Hey, let's do it.
All right, brother. You have a good one. Thank you for your time, man. We'll
All
be
right.
talking
Have a good
soon.
night.
Thanks, man. What a great guest we just had with Tristan Scarborough. Catching up with him was a pleasure. Despite the last couple losses and the injury, the setbacks that he's going through, he seems to be in good spirits. He seems to be motivated, to get back in the cage and perform at a high level. And we're all rooting for you. So be on the lookout for that because he will be making a comeback. And everybody, we just want to thank you again for listening, for watching our videos. If you could just leave a like, comment, subscribe, we're going to stay consistent with these fighter interviews and also articles on bloodsports.com, which is my personal blog, and also on Fightbook MMA, which I'm a guest writer for as well. A much bigger platform where we take these interviews and these articles and share them there as well to get more exposure for the guys and for everyone. So thank you for listening. We hope everybody is having a good day, night, evening, whenever you may be watching this. Thanks again, and we're signing out, but we will be back with another episode soon. Peace.